Men don't lose because they're weak. They lose because they're blind. They listen to words while the entire truth is written in body language, especially when it comes to a married woman. She sits across from you, smiling politely, talking about her children, vacation plans with her husband, and renovations at their country house. Her social brain broadcasts a perfectly calibrated story of well-being and fidelity. It's running its program. But at the same time, her other brain, her ancient reptilian brain, which knows nothing of morality, marriage, or decency, is having a completely different dialogue. It screams without words. It broadcasts primal signals of hunger and choice. And today, you will learn to tune out the noise of her words and tune into this one true frequency. We'll talk about 10 signals, 10 almost animalistic markers that a married woman's body gives when her predator instinct awakens and goes on the hunt. This knowledge is dangerous because it changes the rules of the game. It transforms you from a passive listener of her social fables into a discerning observer who sees her true intentions. The great Sigmund Freud was the first who dared to declare that beneath the thin veneer of civilization, a primitive-eyed boils within each of us an ocean of instincts and desires. His student, Carl Jung, developed this idea by introducing the concept of the shadow. The shadow is the part of the personality that a good wife and caring mother must hide even from herself. But it is precisely in this shadow that the predator lives. And when she chooses her prey, her shadow begins to seep out through gestures, glances, and slips of the tongue. We won't dive into scientific jargon. We will take just one main tool from these titans of thought, the idea that a person, especially a woman, always speaks 2 languages at once. And the key to power belongs to the one who can read the silent language. But I must warn you, this information is not for everyone. We will be talking about things society prefers to keep quiet. If you are ready to know the truth, no matter how uncomfortable it may be, hit the like button on this video right now so I can see you are in the same boat. And if you're here for the first time and aren't afraid of the deep end, be sure to subscribe. And before we begin, I'm very curious about our geography. Please write in the comments what city you're from. Let's see where the most perceptive men have gathered. Act 1. The unconscious code, the body signal 1. The display of vulnerability. This is the most basic, most primal signal, which underlies all further interaction. A woman who is ready for contact must first show that she is not dangerous and, moreover, that she is ready to submit to a dominant male. Her social brain might be talking about anything at that moment, like a promotion at work, demonstrating strength and independence. But her body, her instinct, will be doing the exact opposite. It will be displaying vulnerability. How this looks in practice. The most obvious markers are the neck and wrists. During a conversation with you, she might casually, with a slow, almost theatrical gesture, tuck her hair behind her ear or adjust her hairstyle from the back, thereby fully exposing her neck. This is not just a gesture. It's an instinctive action, encoded in our biology by millions of years of evolution. The neck is one of the most vulnerable parts of the body where the carotid arteries run. In the animal kingdom, exposing the neck is an absolute act of trust and submission. A wolf acknowledging its pack leader exposes its neck. Similarly, a woman who has subconsciously chosen a man exposes her most defenseless area to him, as if to say in the language of instincts, "For you, I let down my guard." The second element of this same signal is the display of the inner wrists. She might rest her chin on the back of her hand, directing the delicate, thin skin of her wrists toward you. Or, while gesturing, she will turn her hands with the palms facing up. Why is this important? Like the neck, the inner wrist is an area where veins are close to the skin. It is a symbol of defenselessness and femininity. Men tend to hide these areas, keeping their hands in a more closed power position. She, on the contrary, broadcasts openness. It is a silent message. I trust you enough to show you my weakest spots. It is important to understand the difference between a random gesture and a signal. If she quickly, nervously fixes her hair, it's just a gesture. But if her movement is smooth, slow, if her fingers seem to glide reluctantly across her neck, lingering on the skin for a split second, it's a signal. Her body is enjoying this moment of display. This is her shadow, her inner predator, showing her true power through submission, the power of seduction. Upon seeing this signal, you don't need to act. You just need to register it in your mind. This is the first flag on the map, the first crack in the armor of the respectable married woman, through which her true desire seeps. This is the starting point from which the great hunt begins. Signal 2. Tactile hunger. If the display of vulnerability was reconnaissance, then tactile hunger is the first contact, a taste test. Humans are social creatures, and for us, touch is a form of communication older than words. But in the context of seduction, touch transforms from a tool of communication into a tool for invading personal space. And a dissatisfied woman, led by instinct, begins to experience a real physical hunger for these touches. What is it really? It's the search for absolutely any socially acceptable excuse to touch you. She might laugh at your joke and place her hand on your forearm. She might hand you an object, and her fingers will accidentally linger on yours. She might brush a non-existent piece of lint off your shoulder. The key marker here is not the touch itself, but its duration and texture. The touch of a mere acquaintance is short, businesslike, almost weightless. The touch of a woman who is hunting is different. It has a micro delay. It lasts a split second longer than propriety demands. In that extra moment, her subconscious tries to send and receive maximum information: the temperature of your skin, the tension of your muscles, your reaction. Let's consider a few scenarios. Scenario 1, the office environment. You are standing by the printer, and she comes to get her documents. Your hands meet in the paper tray. A friendly contact is an immediate withdrawal of the hand. A signal is when her fingers freeze on yours for a moment before she takes her papers. Scenario 2, a friendly party. You are telling a story, and while listening, she touches your arm. A normal gesture, the hand touches and is removed. A signal, her hand remains on your forearm until you finish your sentence. She uses the social context as a cover for the physical contact her body craves. Why does this work on such a deep level? Touch triggers the release of oxytocin, the so-called trust hormone, an attachment hormone. Her reptilian brain knows this. With each accidental touch, she tries to create an invisible biochemical bond between you, bypassing the filters of your consciousness and her own. It's like a spider weaving a web. One touch, then a second, a third, and now you are in her tactile field, accustomed to her touches, and they no longer seem out of the ordinary. She normalizes physical contact, preparing the ground for further, not so innocent actions. The biggest mistake a man can make at this stage is either to not notice this signal, writing it off as friendliness, or conversely, to react too directly, for example, by trying to take her hand in return. This will scare her off. The correct reaction is to mirror her, noticing her micro delay at the next convenient moment. Do the same thing when handing her a cup of coffee. Let your fingers linger on her hand for that same extra split second. This will be a silent answer to her silent question. You will show that you understand her language and are ready to play by her rules. Signal 3. The mirror of desire. This signal is one of the most powerful and, at the same time, one of the most subtle to the untrained eye. Mirroring is a fundamental mechanism for establishing connection, embedded in us at the level of so-called mirror neurons. When we see someone perform an action, the same neurons are activated in our brain as if we were performing the action ourselves. This is the basis of empathy, understanding, and the feeling of being on the same wavelength. But when a woman starts doing this unconsciously and systematically in your presence, it's no longer just empathy. It is a cry from her subconscious. I want to be like you. I want to be with you. We are of the same blood. How does this manifest in detail? Observe her small, automatic gestures. You adjust your watch on your wrist a few seconds later. She instinctively touches her bracelet. You take a sip of coffee, she reaches for her cup. You cross your arms over your chest, in thought she adopts a similar posture. It's important to understand this isn't about cartoonish, monkey-like imitation. It's a subtle, almost imperceptible synchronization. Her body, bypassing conscious control, tries to tune into your frequency, like a radio receiver searching for the right station. She isn't thinking. He just tilted his head, so I'll tilt mine too. It happens automatically, because at that moment, all her attention, all her psychic energy is focused on you. Let's delve deeper into the psychology of this process. When a woman feels attraction, her inner critic, her social brain, is busy controlling her words and direct signals. But it can't control everything. Micro movements, posture, breathing rhythm, all of this remains under the command of ancient instinctive programs. Mirroring is one such program. Her body is trying to close the distance between you on the deepest, nonverbal level. She is, in a way, saying, "Look, there is no difference between us. I understand you without words. I feel what you feel." It is an attempt to create rapport, a state of unconscious trust and deep connection. How to distinguish polite mirroring from a signal of desire? Context and frequency. If you are in a business meeting and the other person partially copies your posture, it's a standard technique for establishing contact. But if you are interacting with a married woman in an informal setting, and she mirrors not only your posture, but also your speech rhythm, blinking rate, and small gestures like scratching your chin, it's a systemic signal. Her body is literally sticking to your energy field. This is a sign that her focus of attention has narrowed to a single object, you. She is no longer in dialogue with the surrounding world. She is in a dialogue only with you, and this dialogue is conducted in the language of bodies. Your correct strategy is not to show that you've noticed. Don't say, "Oh, you're copying me." That would instantly break the magic. Instead, use this signal as a test. Make an atypical but natural movement. For example, join the fingertips of both hands to form a steeple, and watch. If, after a short time, she does something similar, for example, folding her hands on the table, in a similar way, the test is passed. She's hooked. Her subconscious is completely in your power. You have received confirmation that her interest is not just friendly. It's a deep, instinctive attraction that has already escaped the control of her consciousness. Signal 4. The moist gaze. We now move to the most direct, most physiological of all unconscious signals. If the previous signs were the language of psychology and instincts, this one is pure biology. It's a sign that is almost impossible to fake or hide, and it is a direct indicator of sexual arousal. We are talking about the change in her gaze, which is often described as moist, oily, or languid. What happens from a scientific point of view? When a woman experiences strong sexual attraction, her autonomic nervous system switches into arousal mode. This causes a cascade of physiological reactions. One of them is increased blood flow to all mucous membranes and glands. This includes the tear glands. The eyes begin to produce slightly more secretion than usual, creating an effect of moisture and shine. The cornea becomes more lubricated, causing light to reflect off it differently, giving the gaze a special depth and radiance. This is an ancient mechanism that makes a female's eyes more attractive to a male, larger, brighter, and more alive. But that's only half of the equation. The second part is the defocusing. At the moment of arousal, a woman's pupils slightly dilate, an effect, by the way, actively used by courtesans in the Middle Ages, who would put belladonna juice in their eyes. The dilated pupil lets in more light, but slightly changes the focal distance. The gaze becomes less sharp, as if directed not at you, but through you. She is looking at you, but she no longer sees just a man, but the object of her desire, her fantasies projected onto your image. Her gaze becomes dreamy, self-absorbed. This is a sign that her thoughts are far from casual conversation. Her brain is already playing out entirely different scenarios involving you, how this looks in real life. Imagine you're talking. At some point, you notice that her eyes have changed. They shine a little more than usual, as if she's about to cry, but her expression is happy and relaxed. And you catch yourself thinking that she's looking at your lips or somewhere over your shoulder, even though she was maintaining direct eye contact before. Her eyelids may become slightly heavier, her gaze lazy, enveloping. This is it. This is the moment when her body has stopped obeying social commands and has begun to broadcast the truth about her state directly. This is a signal of absolute importance. It means that your presence, your words, your sense something from this combination has become a trigger that has launched a chemical reaction of desire in her body. She may continue to talk about work or the weather, but her body already wants you. This is the point where psychological attraction has crossed over into physiological. For an experienced man, this signal is like a green light. It means that the defensive barriers of her consciousness have fallen under the onslaught of biochemistry. To ignore this signal is to admit your own blindness. This is the culmination of Act 1. She has displayed vulnerability, established tactile contact, mirrored you, and now her body is screaming with arousal. The first stage of the hunt is complete. The predator has chosen her victim and is preparing to attack. Act 2, the language of provocations. Conscious tests if, in Act 1, we observed unconscious signals that seeped through the armor of her social image. Then, in Act 2, the predator begins to act consciously. She moves from passively broadcasting desire to active testing. Each of the following signals is a carefully disguised test, a trial balloon. She is testing not so much your readiness as your conformity to her inner image of the man for whom it is worth taking a risk. She is not just looking for a lover. She is looking for a partner in a secret conspiracy. And to become one, you must pass her tests. Signal 5. Sexual humor. This is her first and safest way to cross the line. Humor is the perfect cover. It allows her to talk about the forbiddens without speaking of it directly. It creates a special space between you, a bubble where outsiders, especially her husband, have no access. When a married woman starts joking with you on topics with sexual undertones, she is doing several things at once. First, she is testing your reaction to a taboo. Will you get embarrassed? Will you judge her? Will you pretend you didn't understand? Or conversely, will you react crudely and vulgarly? Any of these reactions is a failed test. Embarrassment speaks to your internal inhibitions and complexes. Judgment speaks to rigidity and prudishness. Vulgarity speaks to a lack of intelligence. She is looking for the golden mean, a man who is liberated enough to speak calmly on these topics and smart enough to do it elegantly. She wants to see in you not a teenager who giggles at the word sex, but a mature man for whom it is a natural and pleasant part of life. Second, she is calibrating your value system. Her world is divided into two parts: the daytime world, where she is a wife and mother, and the shadow world she wants to build with you. Edgy jokes are a way to mark you as an inhabitant of this shadow world. By playing along, you are essentially saying, I understand. I accept this part of you. Here with me, you can be different. This creates an intimate bond between you, based on a shared little secret. Each such joke is another brick in the wall, separating your world from her official life. How this looks in life. It's rarely flat, old jokes. Most often, it's situational humor, double entendres. For example, you are discussing a work task, and she says something like, "Yes, I had to work on that report all night, but I finally satisfied it." Or, commenting on a movie, she remarks with an ironic smile, "Of course, the main character chose the modest one." Men in movies are so predictable. She looks at you, waiting for a reaction. The right response is a slight smile and a countermove in the same style. You don't need to seize the initiative and elaborate on the topic. You just need to show that you got the hint and appreciated the game. For instance, in response to the line about the report, you could calmly say, "The important thing is that the report was left satisfied." That's it. Test passed. You have shown that you are in on it, that you are not afraid of this territory and are willing to play. This signal is an invitation into her inner world, to the part of it where she feels constrained by her marriage. By accepting this invitation, you take a huge step toward her. You cease to be just an acquaintance or a colleague. You become a potential accomplice. Signal 6, the intimate interrogation. This stage is a logical continuation of the previous one. If sexual humor was reconnaissance by fire, the intimate interrogation is a targeted intelligence-gathering mission. The woman begins to ask you hypothetical, seemingly abstract questions that are actually direct projections of her own desires, fears, and fantasies. She uses the "what if ... format to safely scan your boundaries, your experience, and your views on what is most important to her right now. The essence of this method lies in its safety for her. She admits nothing. She doesn't say, "I want ... She asks, "What do you think of women who..." She doesn't say, "I'm missing ... double quotes," she inquires. "Could you?" This allows her to retreat at any moment by saying, "Oh, we've gotten carried away. I'm just curious." But for a man who knows how to listen, this is not curiosity. This is a direct technical specification, disguised as a philosophical conversation. What questions might she ask? They fall into several categories. The first category is testing for judgment. For example, why do you think women cheat? With this question, she isn't looking for a lecture on morality. She is looking for understanding and justification. The correct answer should not be judgmental, but analytical. For example, probably because they stop getting something vital, and they go in search of it. The second type of question is scanning fantasies. Do you like bold women in bed? What's the craziest thing you've ever done for a woman? She is trying your answers on for size. She is trying to understand if you match the image of the passionate and unpredictable lover her imagination has painted. The third, most important category is probing your intentions. She might ask, do you think a married man or woman can just be friends with someone of the opposite sex? Or, would you ever date a married woman? This is a direct test. She wants to understand what's on your mind. Are you looking for a one-night fling? Or are you capable of something deeper and more emotional? Her fear is being used and discarded. In answering these questions, you must convey reliability and seriousness of intent within the shadow reality. You are building. Your tactic at this stage is to be completely honest. But within the role she offers you, you don't need to lecture her on fidelity and morality. She hears that at home. She expects something different from you. She expects you to see in her questions not idle curiosity, but a cry from the soul. Answer in detail, share your opinion, but always keep the focus on psychology, on desires, on human nature, not on social norms. Every answer you give should be like a balm to her soul, telling her, I don't judge you. I understand you. What you're feeling is normal. By passing this interrogation, you become not just a potential lover to her, but the only person who truly understands her. Signal 7. Complaining about the husband's coldness. This is one of the most crucial and direct signals in the entire second act, but paradoxically, men often misinterpret it, taking it for a simple friendly complaint. When a married woman starts to casually mention in conversation with you the shortcomings of her husband in the emotional or intimate sphere, it is not a complaint. It is a job vacancy. She is not just telling you about a problem. She is describing an open position and listing the requirements for the candidate. Pay attention to the phrasing. She will never say directly, "My husband is bad in bed." That would be too crude and would cast her in a bad light. Instead, she will use roundabout but perfectly clear phrases for the attentive listener. "We've become like brother and sister. He's so predictable. I know what he's going to say and do for the next 10 years. He's long past wanting any craziness. All he wants is his TV and peace. He doesn't care at all how I look, whether I've put on a new dress." Each of these phrases is a line from the job description for you. Become like brother and sister means I lack passion and the incestuous taboo that comes with an affair. He's predictable means surprise me, be spontaneous. He doesn't want any craziness means I want craziness, offer it to me. He doesn't care how I look means give me compliments, devour me with your eyes. Show me that you see a woman in me. Why is this signal so important? First, she is psychologically preparing herself and you for the future affair. By voicing her husband's flaws, she is giving herself and you moral justification for this step. She is not a betrayer. She is a victim of circumstances who is searching for what she has been deprived of. This is a very important moment of self-justification for the female psyche. Second, she is directly, albeit veiledly, telling you exactly what can be used to win her over. She is handing you a map of her unmet needs. You don't need to guess what she wants. She has told you everything herself. All you have to do is offer it to her. A man's number one mistake is to start giving her advice. Have you tried talking to him? Maybe you should go on vacation together? By doing this, you instantly move from the potential lover category to the girlfriend category. She is not looking for a psychotherapist for her marriage and you. She is looking for a cure from it. Mistake number 2 is to start bad-mouthing her husband with her. He's a jerk. How do you live with him? This is also a failure. By attacking her husband, you are attacking her choice, a part of her life. This can trigger a defensive reaction in her. The correct tactic is sympathetic silence and an understanding gaze. You should listen to her, and then, without commenting on her husband, give her exactly what she is complaining about. If she complained about a lack of compliments, tell her, "I don't know about him, but I can see that your eyes are incredible today." You don't discuss the problem. You become its solution. Signal 8. The display of jealousy. This signal may seem illogical and contradictory, but only at first glance. At the height of your growing closeness, when it would seem she should be showing how free and available she is for you, she suddenly starts talking about how jealous her husband is. She might casually mention, "Oh, I have to go," or "My husband will start calling again. He doesn't like it when I'm late," or "I had to delete our chat in the messenger because if my husband sees it, there will be a huge scandal." Or she might tell a story with a smile about how her husband threw a jealous fit over a like from another man on social media. What is she actually doing? She is increasing her value in your eyes by using the most ancient instinct of male rivalry. Psychologists call this the pre-selection principle. A female who already has a male, especially a strong and jealous one, is perceived by other males as more valuable. Her choice has already been, in a way, approved by someone else. By talking about her husband's jealousy, she is sending you several messages. First, I am a valuable prize that is being guarded. Second, another man is afraid of losing me, which means I am worth something. Third, and most importantly, our connection is a risk, an adventure, a forbidden fruit. To win me, you will have to be bolder and smarter than my husband. She is unconsciously creating a competition between you and her husband. She transforms a potential affair from a simple satisfaction of desire into an act of victory, a conquest. For the male psyche, this is a powerful stimulus. It's one thing to pick up what's lying around, and quite another to win a treasure from a dragon. By talking about her husband's jealousy, she symbolically assigns him the role of this dragon, while offering you the role of knight or thief. She raises the stakes, making the game much more exciting and desirable. How to react to this signal? Here, as in the previous case, the key mistake is to make the wrong assessment. You don't need to pity her. What a tyrant your husband is. You don't need to judge her. Why do you provoke him? And you certainly shouldn't be scared. If he's that jealous, then it's dangerous. The correct reaction is light irony and a display of complete calm. You must show that his jealousy doesn't scare you, but rather amuses you. To our phrase, "My husband will be jealous," you can reply with a smile, "Well, I can understand him." With this short phrase, you kill several birds with one stone. You compliment her, showing that she is indeed a woman worth being jealous over. You show your confidence, making it clear that competition doesn't frighten you. And you side with her against him, creating an even stronger us against the world coalition. This signal is the final test of the second act. By passing it, you prove that you have enough courage and confidence to move on to real action. Act 3, the language of action. The point of no return. We are at the finale. All tests have been passed. All masks have been dropped. Unconscious signals have given way to conscious provocations, and now it is time for the decisive step. In this act, words and hints end, and the language of concrete actions begins. This is the point of no return. The signals she gives at this stage are no longer a request or a hint. They are a direct guide to action. To ignore them is not just to miss an opportunity. It is to betray the trust she has placed in you by navigating this entire complex and risky path. Signal 9. Creating the opportunity. This is the penultimate step. The bridge between the world of words and the world of physical contact. She is already sure of you. She has passed all stages of verification and made her decision. But her feminine nature and social norms require that the final initiative come from the man. However, to ensure this initiative is guaranteed to be successful and safe, she creates all the conditions for it herself. She does not invite you directly. She simply informs you that all obstacles have been removed and the way is clear. This always looks like simple information, a statement of fact. Therein lies the genius of this move. She doesn't say, "Come over, my husband won't be home." That would be vulgar and direct and would place all the responsibility on her. Instead, she mentions, as if in passing, "My husband is going fishing with his friends for the whole weekend. I don't even know what to do in an empty apartment." Or, "I have to stay late at the office tonight to finish a project. I'll be all alone here until midnight." Or, "A friend invited me for a sleepover, but I don't feel like going. I'll probably say I'm sick and stay home alone." What is she doing from a strategic point of view? She is giving you 100% reliable information that the coast is clear and there will be no guards. At the same time, she maintains plausible deniability. If you don't use this information, she loses nothing. She never offered you anything. She just shared her plans. But if you act, all formal responsibility lies with you. You came on your own. She didn't invite you. This allows her to save face before herself, and hypothetically, before society. She has created the perfect situation, maximum opportunity for you with minimum risk for herself. This is no longer a test. It is an instruction. Upon receiving such a message, a man must understand there will be no second chance. If he starts to mumble, hesitate, or even worse, doesn't get the hint, he will be written off as a coward and a man incapable of decisive action. She is risking everything by creating this opportunity. She is hacking her own security system. And in return, she expects not hesitation, but a clear and confident step. Your reaction should be simple and unambiguous. To the message about the empty apartment for the weekend, a calm response should follow. In that case, maybe I can keep you company tonight? I'll bring some good wine. No extra questions. No clarifications. Only a confident acceptance of her unspoken offer. This is the moment when the hunt ends, and what it was all for begins. The final signal. Breaking the marital taboo, this is the culmination. The apex of the complex nonverbal symphony we have witnessed. This is the action that represents the final frontier, the psychological point of no return. It is the symbolic gesture that, in her own mind, puts an end to her marriage, at least for this evening, for this night. Even if physical intimacy has not yet occurred, by performing this action, she has already mentally committed adultery. We are talking about the most sacred symbol of marriage, the wedding ring. Imagine the scene. You have already taken advantage of the opportunity she created. You are alone together. The tension in the air is thick enough to cut with a knife. And then, at some point in the conversation, she, as if nervous, begins to fidget with the wedding ring on her finger. She twists it, slides it halfway down her knuckle, and puts it back on. This in itself is a powerful signal. She is weighing her status and her desire on a scale. Her fingers are in constant contact with the symbol of her lack of freedom, and this contact burdens her. And then the main event happens. With a barely noticeable exhale, she finally takes the ring off. She doesn't throw it. She doesn't hide it demonstratively. She simply, with a mundane but meaningful gesture, removes it and places it on the table or in her purse. And she looks at you. At this moment, she is performing a ritual act. It is a silent vow of loyalty to you. By removing the ring, she symbolically sheds her status as a married woman. In this space, here and now, she is no longer someone's wife. She is just a woman who has made her choice. This gesture has colossal psychological power. For many women, physical infidelity seems like a less serious offense than this symbolic betrayal of marital bonds. By removing the ring, she is burning her bridges. She has mentally divorced her husband to have the right to be with you. She herself removes the main obstacle that stood between you. Seeing this, a man must understand all games are over. Any doubts, any indecisiveness on his part will be perceived not just as weakness, but as an insult. She has performed a sacred act for you. She has sacrificed the main symbol of her life. And if, after this, a man does not take the decisive step, he devalues her sacrifice. This is not just a signal that you can. This is a signal that you must immediately. This is the moment when words are no longer needed. Her body, her psychology, her symbolic actions all had spoken for her. She is completely open. She is completely defenseless. And she is completely yours. This is the final chord, curtain, conclusion. From blindness to decisiveness, we have analyzed 10 signals. 10 steps by which a dissatisfied woman descends from the world of social conventions into the basement of her primal instincts. We saw how it all begins with an innocent display of the neck and ends with the sacred act of removing a wedding ring. And now for the main conclusion. A woman who has gone through all these stages is not expecting questions from you. She is expecting confidence. She has traveled a huge inner journey, full of fears, doubts, and self-justifications. She has risked her reputation, her marriage, her peace of mind. And she did not do it to face a hesitant and indecisive man at the end. The ability to read this multi-layered language, from innocent gestures to the final, symbolic act is what distinguishes a mature man from a boy. A boy listens to words and believes in fairy tales of fidelity. A man observes actions and reads the language of instincts. He understands that a woman sending these signals is not bad or vicious. She is alive. She is hungry. She is looking for what is vitally necessary for her: passion, attention, the feeling of being desired. And if she has chosen you as the object of this hunger, your task is not to judge her, but to live up to it. Stop being blind. Stop waiting for a direct invitation that will never come. Learn to see the truth in her gestures, in her glances, in her provocations. And then you will cease to be a passive observer of someone else's life and become the one who confidently takes what is offered to him without words. And now, the main question for you. I have told you about 10 signals, but life is always more complicated than any theory. Recall your most telling situation related to this topic. Perhaps you saw some other unique signal that I didn't mention? Or conversely, did you misread one of these signs? Write your story in the comments. Let's gather all our collective male wisdom in one place. The most interesting and instructive stories could become the basis for future analyses.